When have you ever really experienced an outer world? I know it may sound like a silly question, but in this video I want to really explore the nature of reality and of our experience of what we call the world or life. You may be thinking that, of course I've experienced the world. I perceive it in every waking moment. I experience other people and this sense of there being a world out here. But if we really examine this experience and we take it level by level, I think you might start to see something quite a bit different. Let's take this moment, for instance. You're listening to this video and watching me on a screen, maybe your phone, your tablet, your computer, and you're seeing an image and you're hearing my voice. At least you think you are. Because what's actually happening is that I'm apparently sitting over here in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, and my voice is being recorded. And the image of myself, which is light being projected and collected through this lens and transmitted over the internet to your computer or your device. And it's being reconfigured in an image, which is then being displayed to you. And the sound of my voice is being emitted through your speakers and into your ears, just as the image is being projected into your eyes or received by your eyes. And all of this is really vibration. It is information being transferred and then collected and interpreted by your senses. So really what's happening is your nervous system, which is attached to your brain, is receiving these signals, this data, the information of these vibrations which are being exchanged. And your brain is interpreting these messages, these signals, in its own way. So in truth, you're not really hearing my voice or receiving my message. You're actually interpreting it to be your own message altogether. And while it's not entirely true that it's completely your message, because I am sharing and I am influencing your understanding, your interpretation, it is more of a co-creation. But you see, in that sense, you never really experience me or my message purely, because it's always going to be filtered through your conditioning, through your programming, through the construct of your mind and how you reference things and how you relate to things. And the same goes for every experience that you have in every moment of every day. You're not ever really experiencing a world or others, not directly. You are interpreting what we call the world and what appear to be others. And therefore we could say that you're only ever truly experiencing yourself. Again, there does seem to be an influence from somewhere out here, from other sources beyond yourself. And so ultimately, it is you that has the final say in what something is, and therefore how anything is experienced. And this is why I wanted to question if you've ever truly experienced an outer world. Because this world out here is really a projection of a landscape in here. And this is the main premise of this video, that all of this that we call life is actually an inner game. Now, if that is the case, then what is the purpose of this game? And are there levels to it? How does one progress through it? And where is it all going? Well, I'm not going to claim to have the answers, and I'm certainly not going to suggest that what I have to say is the truth. So take what resonates and leave the rest. So if there is a purpose to this game, what would it be? We often think of games in terms of winning or losing and competition and an endpoint that we need to get to. obstacles that we need to overcome, opponents that we need to vanquish or defeat. And depending on what level of the game you're operating from, this may seem to be the case. And it does seem that many people in this world currently have this view. So this is what I call level 0. And level 0 of the game is all about survival. The objective of level 0 is to survive the best, to accumulate the most money, to have the greatest experiences, to have the most pleasure, to acquire and amass the most that you possibly can. And we do this by achieving, acquiring, and proving ourselves. It's the classic narrative, the survival of the fittest, which is frankly an outdated model for looking at life. The trouble with level 0 is that all of these symbols in the world and in the experience of life are what are given significance, and therefore are the main means of measuring one's own self-worth. And this is where the flaw of level 0 is revealed. Because the reason why we're seeking survival is because we inherently believe that we are separate. And because of that separation between each other and from the world, we think that survival is the best way to live, because it seems that resources are limited and that our safety and our security is limited to what we can produce. And therefore we need to achieve and acquire and protect what it is that we have, because there's a fear that we might lose it, or that it might run out, or that one day we might not be able to produce anymore. And therefore there is this fear that we are not safe. So we're always going to be on alert and constantly striving for more. And as you can see by famous figures and highly successful people in the world, it's often these individuals which are the least fulfilled and that actually have the least well-being on a fundamental level. Because when we outsource ourselves to symbols, which are fleeting and impermanent and have no inherent meaning or value in and of themselves, then we are always going to be at the mercy of what we can produce, of what we have, and what we can retain. But it is inevitable that we will come to the light and that we will see the flaw in this way of thinking. And that is when we wake up and progress to level 1. Level 1 of the game is all about the self. It's about improving the self, developing the self, growing as an individual. But the distinction between level 1 and level 0 is that it's no longer about gaining or getting anything in return. It's purely about the process of evolving as an individual. You could say personal development or a soul evolution. It's all about the learning and the growth that comes through the process of development, of trial and error, of experimenting, of creating and learning from that process. So you see, level 1 is all about expansion. And where it was next to impossible in level 0 to come to any sense of purpose, in level 1, this is where we first start to experience our greater purpose beyond just getting by in life. This is where we begin to recognize our calling and the spark of our individuality. Through all these different activities and experiences, we get a flavor of who we really are beyond these limited ideas and concepts that we've contained ourselves to. Throughout the journey of level 1, we start to unlock our abilities, our skills, our gifts, and we start to cultivate qualities of love and kindness and compassion and wisdom. We develop our intellect beyond the limited space of the mind, and we start to experience what it's like to expand our mentality into something greater than this paradigm of survival, which is why level 1 is generally where we start to experience something beyond ourself, a connection to something greater, a sense of something sublime and supreme and transcendental, which is what leads us to level 2. And level 2 is all about service. It's continuing the journey of level 1 in this expansion and learning and growth. But now it's not only for the purpose of self, but it's also for the purpose of service, for the benefit of all. And now everything that it is that you're experimenting with and learning and practicing is ultimately offered back to the whole. It is no longer only limited to your own individual experience, but it is shared. Level 2 is where we start to really come into our calling. We get a real glimpse of what the true purpose of our life is, and where we get to experience the fulfillment of helping another. Level 2 is hallmarked by compassion and the availability to share and to be with others. It's about a greater mission, a greater vision for the whole, for the collective, for humanity. Because the further into level 2 you adventure, the more you start to realize that the separation which confined you in level 0 is actually an illusion, and that there really is no separation in life at all. That the separation was a projection of the mind for the purpose of safety and security and for maintaining this sense of separateness as an ego. But as this begins to dissolve, so too does the idea that I am growing, independent from a world or from others. You start to understand that life is a reflection of you, that the world is simply a mirror for your own mind, for your own consciousness. And it's through presence and through awareness of your consciousness that you start to cultivate a sense of something even beyond this sense of we. You start to feel one with everyone, with the collective. And because of that, there's this sense of being a team, being a family, being a unity. And therefore there is a sense of duty and responsibility and honor in showing up for the world and doing our best to contribute to improving the world, to helping others, to co-creating a paradise. And because everything is seen to be a reflection of your own state of mind, a mirror of your own consciousness, the notion that I need to go and do anything in the world starts to dissolve. The idea that I need to achieve anything or that there's anything actually tangible that I can mold outside of my own mind starts to fall apart. And this is where Gandhi's famous quote comes in: be the change. Because while there is a lot that we can do to improve the world and to help others, ultimately, everything comes back to being. It is the quality of your presence which has the greatest impact on your own life, on the world, and on others around you. And so this need to do anything in the world starts to relax a bit, and that any doing is actually a byproduct of your being. And the further one dives into this presence, the closer they get to the third level. And the third level is something quite difficult to articulate. It is truly beyond words, and it is the epitome of the transcendental. All concepts, all ideas are nonsensical within this realm of level 3 because it is non-dual. And non-dual means not two, not separate. You can't even really say that it's one because there is no reference point. There is no center. There is no outer. And that presence that you are is seen to be the ultimate prize, so to speak, because level 3 is all about spirit. In level 3, something truly magical happens with our presence and with the way that we work and offer ourselves in the world and to others. All that we've learned and all that we've cultivated along the way starts to become this center of gravity, and it becomes such a flow, such a mastery, that it no longer even requires our own will. It's actually tapping into the greater will, the will of life, the will of God, the will of the universe. And like surfing a wave, we no longer need to exert so much effort that we actually start to ride the wave and be taken by the force of life and moved by the universe itself. That it's not just me or we, but it's all that there is conspiring to create in one unified direction. And this is an immense power and one of the hallmarks of level 3, this sense of non-doing, of being moved by life, being an instrument of the universe, and being a vessel for the will of the Creator. And this is where we become unconsciously competent in our ways. If we were to relate each of the levels of the game with this model, it would be level 0 as unconsciously incompetent. Level 1 being consciously incompetent. Level 2 being consciously competent. And then level 3 being unconsciously competent. So competent in your capabilities that it is now automatic. It is subconscious. It doesn't require thinking. It doesn't require effort. It doesn't require any mind at all. And it's only in the dissolution of the mind, in going beyond thinking, that one truly becomes an instrument of the divine, which is what allows for true self-mastery. And in level 3, we recognize that the purpose of the game all along has been to seek and align with the self that is this spirit. And while it has been the purpose all along, that purpose has been distorted or filtered through the lenses of the different levels that we're operating from, which is why in level 0, it is all about survival, because that purpose of seeking the spirit is filtered through separation, interpreted to mean that I need to survive, that my spirit needs to survive, because there's such a disconnection with that spirit. And as we progress through the levels, that connection starts to reestablish more and more strongly. We start to cultivate a deep sense of connection until all separation with that spirit dissolves. And while to this point in my life, I've had many experiences and realizations of this spirit, of this third level of the game, I can only speak from my experience, and it is even still limited experience. So this is my interpretation of this part of the game. But I believe that at the heart of every individual is this seeking impulse for what is truly beyond the world and the sense of separation of being an individual, which is to remember the true self that we all are and the infinite possibilities and freedom that it fundamentally is, and the peace and the joy and the fulfillment that comes from this is unspeakable. It is truly profound. And that's why I believe that this, above all else, the seeking of our true self, is our ultimate purpose and aim in life.